Unlock consistent profits and financial growth through the CTKS method checklist by scanning the key markets. Today, we're going to look through the Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3 charts. We're going to see if they're at support or resistance for this past 24 hours, and then we're going to predict where they could be in the next 24 hours. We'll start with the Tier 1 charts that are the engine of financial markets globally. Right now, when we look through the CTKS structure of the Tier 1 charts, we can see the S&P 500, the SPX, is at resistance, as is Bitcoin, gold, the US 10-year yield and total crypto market cap. We see that the Nasdaq, the VIX, the DXY, US oil and junk bonds are at support. This means that there is likely going to be a slight retracement in the market due to VIX strength and DXY strength. Also, the fact that US oil could very well bounce and continue on a positive momentum. Turning our attention to Bitcoin, which is a key risk-on or risk-off sentiment indicator inside all markets. Price is always moving in a wave, and when we analyze Bitcoin through the CTKS method, we're actually analyzing more than 5,100 days worth of data. What we see is there's a substantial amount of structural resistance overhead in Bitcoin's price structure at the current time. There is one level of support, smart money support, at 34,434. Bitcoin is currently 34,977. If we see continued negative price momentum, we expect this 34,434 mark of structural support to get action. If we go further falling below that could be a bit of a problem because there's a fresh air gap in there. We also notice that there is incredible structural resistance overhead. The sellers have very much exerted pressure on Bitcoin. That's why you can see these tops forming here. This particular level of 35,304 is an important one because that 35,304 level, when we start to get above that and turn that into support, we would expect follow through in the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq. But if Bitcoin comes through this particular structural support level and it just slices through it, there's quite a nasty drop underneath this level. The markets are a little bit all over the place at the moment. If we see a spike in the VIX and a spike in the DXY, we would expect negative price momentum on Bitcoin and a fall down through this 34,000 mark. If we see junk bonds starting to take over and starting to gain control of the market, we would expect that Bitcoin would rally through these structural resistance levels. Keeping your eye on the Tier 1 charts is incredibly important, but let's have a look at the Tier 2 to stack probabilities. If you're liking the content, please smash that like button, and thank you so much for being here. Kate and I love to read your comments each and every day. The Tier 2 charts help us to stack probabilities. Let's have a look into them. The Tier 1 chart, junk bonds, is really important. That gives risk on and risk off sentiment. We're currently seeing Apple, Microsoft and Tesla currently at support, but Apple and Microsoft may well move into resistance in the next 24 hours. Tesla still has a little bit of upwards progression. Ethereum, Silver, the Euro, Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash are all under resistance, structural resistance. That's expected to extend into tomorrow. The US 2-year unfortunately is at support, and that's likely to continue into tomorrow as well. A redeeming factor, copper is currently at resistance but may well move into support in the next market session. You will find from time to time the markets do this, they go all out of sync. They can throw conflicting signals, but the fact is that the US 2-year, the VIX, the DXY at support is not good. That would indicate a market retracement. Tesla has been trading for over 4,800 days, and Tesla is currently $2.19 and 32 cents. When we pop on the indicator, we notice a few things that are very worthwhile actioning. We see that we're at a structural level of support right at this current time. That means that big bounce off these structural support levels at 214.63 has brought us straight into resistance, but it's looking like it's trying to convert it into support. If the bears get a hold on Tesla, they will seek to drop it down below these structural resistance levels and fill that negative air, fresh air gap. But the bulls would seek to take Tesla up to the next structural resistance level at 226. One thing that we know, the VIX and the DXY are currently at support. Things don't go too well for the stock market when that happens. But market actions and reactions are not instantaneous. We could very well make our way up to a higher resistance level and then push backwards. The fact that Apple and Microsoft are at support and showing a degree of strength is very, very good news. This means that risk-on activity could overcome issues with the VIX and the DXY, and also the US 2-year yield. Going through your checklist is very valuable. Let's have a look at the Tier 3 charts. Looking at the Tier 3 charts, we can see resistance is affecting BNB, Nvidia, XRP, Solana, Doge and the Aussie dollar. We would expect carry forward negativity to the next 24 hours. However, Solana looks like it may overcome this temporary pullback. ADA is looking reasonably positive and that could continue into tomorrow. And the dollar-yen combination is also looking quite positive. This actually adds fuel to the fire to the DXY and the VIX. By stacking probabilities, we can see that the crypto market is relatively weak. When we look at a chart with the CTKS method, we're actually analyzing all of the price data that's available. When we throw on the indicator, we can see that ADA has been passing through multiple levels of structural support. These support areas, although light, are quite aggregated, and ADA currently is 35.10. This means that we could well get caught in this structural area, structural support area, and start to turn around. A lot has to do with Bitcoin. But one of the things that we know with the CTKS method, CTKS structure overrides. If you're moving into a high area of structural support, you would expect a technical bounce. We see that all the time. When we go into an area of structural support, we expect a bounce. We may go below it, but still the bounce is there. When we get up to resistance, we expect problems and trauma, a consolidation at the least, downward momentum at the best. If we pass through it, we have to contend with overhead structure. And this is a very normal reaction in the crypto market, especially as Bitcoin is currently under massive structural resistance. The reason that ADA's price is positive is because so many structural areas of support are exhibiting themselves in ADA's price structure. If the bears continue with their onslaught, they would seek to push ADA down to the 34.14 mark or lower to the 33.58. But if we get rebounded here, we're coming back to that 36.41 mark or even higher. To be consistently profitable inside financial markets, it's very important to do your checklist on the Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3 charts. As part of your daily routine, make sure that you check the structural levels on the Tier 1, Tier 2 and Tier 3 charts. One thing to be aware of, when the DXY starts to spike up, generally that's really bad for risk-on assets such as Bitcoin. But it impacts everything: stocks, indices, commodities. If we zoom in to Bitcoin versus the DXY, you can see exactly what I'm talking about as the DXY starts to spark up because it's hit a structural support level. That's not so good for the crypto market and it's not so good for stocks. What we're focused on right now are junk bonds. If they continue to rally, that is really good, but there is overhead structure there. So we may get a bit of a push up in the first half of the session, followed by a push down in the latter half. When we look at the Tier 1s, there are a lot under resistance, and the ones that are at support don't do well for the market, such as the DXY and the VIX. When we look at the Tier 2s, a lot of them are under resistance as well, and we're seeing that in the Tier 3 charts also. We would expect a retracement in the next 24 hours. Thanks for watching. I very much appreciate us spending this time together. If you like the content, smash that like button and don't forget to subscribe. And if you like this kind of content, put down just the simple word checklist in the comments to let me know. Have a great day or night ahead, my friends, and Kate and I look forward to catching up with you again tomorrow. Bye for now.